What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode. Fun for me. I mean, I bring on the coolest people on here: millionaires, billionaires, entrepreneurs, investors, authors, speakers, coaches, consultants, you name it. And I have learned so much from this show just from sitting down and speaking with these people. But mostly, I've just had a blast. It's been so much fun being on here and doing this thing. So today's show is going to be right up there in line with all the others. Let's get into it.
My motto in life is make money and have fun. I'm on a mission to show everyone how to make money, yeah, and have fun. I'm all about making money and having fun.
So I'm going to say today's show falls under the category of what not to expect. So you ever meet these people in your life and you've never heard of them before, you have no idea who they are, what they do, and you hear them speak one time, maybe you have a conversation with them, maybe they give a presentation or a speech, and you are just completely riveted and moved, and you're like, you know what? I got to become friends with this person. I got to associate with this person. Well, that's exactly what it was like for me the first time I met David Corbin. I was actually at a mutual friend's house, Dr. Greg Reed, who was on this show a little while ago, and he brought Dave Corbin in and just said the greatest things about him, that Dave Corbin is his mentor. And Dave came up and gave this speech, and I was absolutely riveted. And I said, Dave, I got to have you on my show. So let's put our hands together for Mr. David Corbin. What's up, David?
Hey, what's up? What's up? What's up? Life is good. It's good to see you, man.
Dude, it's good to see you, man. Look at all those books behind you. I know I mentioned this before, but we got to bring that up again.
Yeah. I it's all about learning, man. You know, you talk about money, you talk about fun, right? Mm-hmm. Well, chicken or egg, baby. What comes before the money, right? So does the fun come before the money? Does the money come before the fun? If it's money, what comes before the money? It's serving, it's learning, it's producing, it's contributing, and it's loving, right?
Yes.
So those books are just an example of this kid learning, man, always learning. I wish the hell I started in school.
Right? Don't we all?
I wish I had a teacher who gave a shit, who said, hey, man, you know, you ought to learn this, or what do you, none of that stuff. So, and I didn't have any parents who asked that question either. So,
right.
You know, woe is me. No, man, you know, you learn, you grow, you develop. And now I'm a reading mofo. I love it. Every morning I'm in here about 5 a.m. Pacific time. You know, I got my green tea going on, and I got my books happening, and it's great, man. I love that. It's so expansive. You know who I hung out with yesterday?
Who?
I hung out with Carl Sandburg. Now, who's Carl Sandburg? He wrote these books. He was born in, like, I think 1873. He wrote these books, and up yonder, maybe you can see, I don't know, up there is a series of books that Carl Sandburg wrote about Abraham Lincoln. And so I got this book, and I'm looking at it. It's signed by Carl Sandburg. It's worth a shitload of money. I'm waiting for my wife to leave town so I can go sell that book. No, but
I won't tell her.
But to be able, now in this book, man, I'm going to learn so much more about Abraham Lincoln. Why do I give a shit about learning about Abraham Lincoln? Because there's so much packed into these stories for your own personal growth and development. Money and fun, learn, be able to contribute more, build yourself, earn shitloads of money, and have fun. That's part of the equation, man. That's part of it.
Absolutely. Speaking of stories, David, we want to hear, what's your story? Tell us about you. Who are you? What do you do? Give us the abbreviated version, though, because we only got a few minutes.
Let me start. I'll go month by month since August 5th, 1952.
All right, let's do it.
Today. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, get a pillow. No. It's interesting. I think one of the things that sort of defined me early on is that I grew up and I had very low self-esteem. I had very little supervision. very few role models. So I somehow figured stuff out and I became an entrepreneur. Still self-esteem was low, but at least I knew I could do that. I was a really figure-it-outer kid. I could fix stuff. I was famous for breaking it so I could fix it. And so I started out as an entrepreneur. I looked at, little league games where kids are, buying sodas at the shack over there for too much money. So I'd buy the cheap off-brand 6-pack soda, break them down, put them in a garbage pail, fill it up with ice, and I'd sell those suckers, and I made some money. And then I would shovel snow, and I would mow lawns. $5 a lawn and $5 to shovel snow, unless it was a corner house. I learned about taxation, because my old man said that you want to use the lawnmower, you mow this lawn first. so he taxed me on that. Same thing with the snow shovel and stuff. I really dug that sort of stuff, and
Sure.
I went on and went to college, because kids where I grew up, Long Island, you go to college. So I went to college, spent most of my time protesting a war, but I went to college, and I must have learned something. And maybe I learned how to learn, I don't know, but I never studied business. I studied psychology. Came out, I directed the counseling center at one of the state universities in New York, even without even a bachelor's degree. That's the way you could do it back then. It was during the Civil War. It was a million years ago. And anyway, so I did that, but I learned how to figure stuff out, and I learned how to lead people and inspire people and motivate people. So I went on, I took an EMT license. Most of the people in the counseling center took EMT licenses, and was studying to be a paramedic, and thought maybe I ought to go to medical school. And I went through that process and moved to California to do that. Then I realized, no, that ain't for me. That's just not for me. I'm a figure-it-outer. I'm a smart guy. I'm a street smart kid, but I was never a real student, See these books back here? The only thing they were good for was, kindling, or maybe holding a door open or something like that, But I got a job selling stereos, and I wasn't good. I was really freaking good. I mean, I could sell. I didn't care about who I sold to. I didn't care about what I sold. I didn't care about them or their needs. I only cared about the fight, bringing that fish in, on 2-pound test and all. So I was kind of a dirtbag salesman, but I was damn good. And then what did they do? The company did what most companies do. They made me the VP of sales, which means they lost their best salesperson and they got the worst VP of sales in the world.
Mm-hmm. Peter principle.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And I didn't know much more than my Peter. So anyway, I went and spent a ton of my own money and bought 7 videotapes, VHS tapes. A guy named Joel Weldon, The Psychology of Sales. And I memorized it. And I became a sales trainer who I had his words, my skills and techniques, put it together, and I kicked ass. And, we were the #1 advertiser in San Diego with the Padres and the Chargers. And then I left that, and then I've been in my own business ever since. It was sales training, marketing, and then worked through. And that was the first few years. And now 42 years being unemployable as a entrepreneur. I'm
right.
Psychologically unemployable. So I've been doing that. And it brought me to last year. I had 2 of my books reach the Wall Street Journal bestsellers list. And that's a trip, because it means the concepts and that which I teach have some value to people. And through the years, I learned certain things like I'm awesome. You go from a kid with low self-esteem, doing all these things to try to prove to yourself that you're worthy and you're valuable. And that's what driving you is like, man, I need to validate myself. You develop these skills of communication and persuasion and influence just so you can feel good about yourself. And then when you step into who you really are, because everyone who's listening to this, please know you're freaking awesome. You know, God don't make no mistakes. You're awesome in your own way. You're also a D-bag, right? We all are. We're all work in progress. But what happened for me was the skills that I developed in trying to prove to the world that I'm worthy didn't go away when I knew that I was truly worthy. So now I'm able to use those skills when this originally happened up until today for the good, to serve others, to bless others, to mentor and to develop others. Business, that's easy. You know, you go on Fred's podcast and you learn that you know, a credit card debt ain't bad. When you use it properly, it becomes your arbitrage. You got people who could teach you that stuff. Yo, business is easy. But becoming that individual, becoming that person who can do, learn, seek out information, that's not so easy.
Yeah.
And that's the personal development. We call it mindset. That's the inner game of business success. And, you know, I've mentored some pretty awesome people, some of whom you've met, Fred, and others whose books you've read and speeches you've heard. I've mentored some crazy awesome people. And it's because we go deep. You know, we go deep. You know, you talk about money and fun. Well, how much money? And what is fun? What is really fun for you? What do you want? And then, yo, what do you really want? And who do you need to become to get that shizzle, right? Who do you need to be? And how are you being while you're doing what you're doing? And when you get clarity on that, and when you get clarity on what's pulling you back to the old ways, you know what I mean? The old ways, it might be insecurity. It might be, in my case, it was low self-esteem. You know, there's a bungee cord. People don't know this, but there's a bungee cord attached to your butt, and it's pulling you back to the old ways, right? So when you're tired or hungry or angry or lonely, you go back to the old shizzle, you know? And so when you could identify that bungee cord, or what are the patterns in your world that pull you backwards, and you cut that sucker, when you cut it, man, you go flying forward. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it, as my good buddy Les Brown says.
I love it. It's so cool. The things that you were talking about with make money and have fun, it's interesting because a lot of people read it or they hear it and they think it's all about debt and arbitrage and financial literacy. And the funniest thing is that that's the furthest from the truth. Like you mentioned, I oftentimes will talk about financial fulfillment, and financial fulfillment is about figuring out who you are and where you fit best. And I love your story because it almost starts out where it just came from necessity. You're like, shit, I got to make money. So I'm going to go shovel snow. I'm going to go mow lawns. I'm going to go do whatever it takes to make this work. And then a little bit later on, you kind of, in a sense, found your superpower in sales. You're like, oh man, I'm good at this. And that's when things started to kind of take off for you. But then the best was at the end when you said about cutting that bungee cord off and just letting yourself propel forward. David, let me ask you this. This is an interesting question. Why do you think most people hold on to all that stuff in the past or have that bungee cord attached to their butt in the first place? Why is that?
It's like stuff you find in a drawer somewhere. You didn't even know you had it. You didn't know you were carrying it around. You know, you just didn't know you had it. See, the key that I've found, and I don't care if I'm working with the president of AT&T or the secretary of the VA, a cabinet member, no matter who you're working with, when you can help people to identify patterns in their life, belief systems, programs in their hard drive, right? And I'll point to my gut. There's programs in their hard drive. When you can illuminate, as I call it, you can identify those patterns and see, oh man, I've been running that script for a long ass time. I've sort of sabotaged this or whatever or that. I never even realized that I've been doing that, you know? That's a pattern. And so when you could identify those patterns, source them. Like, where do you learn that? Where do you learn that pattern? Often, and this sounds weird, it's going to sound very California, yo, dude, it often happens precognitively. And I can talk about that later. But when you could identify the pattern, see where it came from, where do you learn it? And usually you learn it from mom or dad, okay? And then see how that pattern has been kicking your ass and not serving you. Then you bash that pattern. I mean, you bash it. And there's a whole process. Then you forgive those that you learn that pattern from. You forgive and you forgive yourself. Then you replace those patterns. And then you stay awake. You stay awake to yourself and observe when you step back into those patterns and love yourself and go, yo, I see what's going on here. No, I am not that pattern. I'm much bigger than that. My hands are on the steering wheel of this life. And then you move forward. When you go through that process, I just spoke with someone who you've listened to his speeches and you've read his book, and pretty famous dude. Spoke with him yesterday. We talked about how when I was mentoring him, we actually looked at some of those patterns and how liberated he is by being able to identify, source, destroy, forgive, replace, and move forward unencumbered. He said it was like I had this full diaper on me, and after we took it off, man, I felt so relieved, so liberated, so clean, so free, you know? So that's an important process. Now, I don't do a lot of mentoring anymore. I'm too busy building my companies based on my inventions and all. But when I do mentor, that's an essential and incredible part of it. Identifying the patterns. That's what I use the metaphor, that bungee cord attached to your butt, pulling you backwards. Because until you can cut those, you're always in a state of tension. You're going this way because that's where you want to be, and the pattern's pulling the pattern's pulling you backwards, and you're in that, you know, that state of tension, you know, when you know it's like, whoa, you know.
Seriously. Yep.
When you cut that, yo, you can move freely, unencumbered. As it says on the airplane, you are, you know, take off your belt. You are free to roam the cabin of life, unencumbered, because resistance sucks. I'd much rather jump in the stream and go downstream on that tube and just chill and dig it, as opposed to working your ass off going upstream. Mic drop.
It makes perfect sense. Absolutely. Let me ask you this. I guess when it comes to mentoring people, it seems to be something that you like to do. And I noticed that a lot of times, especially like last night, I held my mastermind, and you know, I'm certified with the Mastermind Association. When we're in there, we don't bullshit. We don't pull punches. You know, we tell you straight to your face how it is and exactly how it's going down. You ever talk to me about sometimes, you know, the students who aren't ready for the tough love? Do you think that sometimes, I guess the question would be, do you think that sometimes tough love is necessary to move you from where you are to where you want to go?
So number one, let me say, yo, thank you as a founding member of the Mastermind Association for us to find bright, smart, young, engaged people to lead masterminds. I feel it's like, yo, legacy, you know, having that in your hands, Fred. So boom on that. Okay. There you go, man. There you go. You have to pass a test. I think you had to look at my mug on video. So that's cool. Now, with regard to people being ready, being not ready, we're all not ready until we are. And sometimes we declare we're ready, before we really are, right? And I found in mentoring people, I could peel back the layers, but if I pull them back too fast, they're there standing there naked, and it's very scary. So here's a key word, and write this down as it relates to masterminding and people who are not ready or ready. And the key word, it's a technical term, which is why I ask you to write it down. It's called love. It's called love. Love expressed in empathy, expressed in listening, hearing, and listening with your eyes, not just your ears. So in a mastermind situation, I believe in leadership by contract. Leadership by contract. Hey, Bob, Sue, in the mastermind, to what level do you feel you're ready to get real and illuminate? To what level are you ready to illuminate? Which is to face it, follow it, and fix it. How committed are you? Are you willing, and are you willing to be somewhat courageous, such that if someone says to you, metaphorically, hey, in your business gig, you get a big old booger hanging from your nose, are you willing to listen to that, or is that going to freak you out? And so if you're going to go in and play full out, then I think we're all going to go in and play full out. And if there's a sensitivity, how about if we have a symbol or a signal, if we broach a sensitivity? And that's like, yo, I'm not comfortable with that. Or I don't want to go there. Have a signal to communicate. And that's leadership, mentorship, and mastermind by agreement or by contract, you know? And when you do that with love, empathy, hearing, listening, support, you're going to serve. Magic happens when you serve. Magic happens. When you're part of someone's sadhana, someone's path, when you're supporting and loving and serving someone on their path, lovingly, without, hey, it's a for you, what's a for me, without that, magic happens. Unknown angels of mercy, they say, come under your wings and carry you to where you want to go, be it money, fun, health, financial, friends, faith, freedom. Yo, unbelievable how lucky you get when you serve and you work in harmony with the universe. Boom, another mic drop on that, because that's true.
Dave, we gotta bring up something that was brought to light for me actually when I was at Greg Reed's house, and this was interesting because I've always been a student first and a teacher second in my path with everything that I'm doing. I mean, I love teaching, I love putting on shows like this and just bringing value to as many people as I can, but I always understood the importance of learning. And for me, that started off as a martial artist. So oftentimes learning was literally getting kicked in the face. So when I get verbally kicked in the face, I can handle it sometimes now. And Greg Reed brought up something for me, which is actually your book, which is Illuminate the Negative. And one of the things that we had brought up is this idea for me that was a pattern of mine, that I was running a bungee cord that was holding me back, which is, look, I'm this 25-year-old kid. How the hell am I going to teach these people about business? And Greg flipped the script on me. He's like, dude, you got to read David's book, Illuminate the Negative. So tell us a little bit about that. I mean, you can use my story if you want, or just anything to kind of illuminate what illuminating the negative is all about.
So I'm gonna go in general, and then I want to come back specifically to your issue of,
let's do it.
Perceived youthfulness and the downside, detriment, or the negative component. First of all, illuminate the negative is all about this. We can't solve everything we face. in life and in business. We can't solve everything we face, but we can't solve anything unless we face it, right? You got to face it. And so I teach face it, follow it, and fix it. You see, nowhere in the positive mental attitude literature up there, I've had the pleasure of meeting, sharing the platform with some of the top people talking about positive mental attitude. But it's, as I write in that book, because the book illuminates a story, the old man says, you know, we can't solve everything we face, but we can't solve anything unless we face it, follow it, and fix it. But the old man says, you know, we older guys may have done you younger guys a disservice by talking about positive mental attitude. And the other guy goes, well, what do you mean? I mean, positive mental attitude is important. Oh, yeah, it's important. And the old man says, but nowhere in the literature does it say, in the positive mental attitude literature, does it say ignore negative issues, right? But most people think if you focus in on the negative issues, the problems, the situations, the opportunities where you need to learn, grow, and develop, if I focus in on that, that ain't good. I got to focus in on the positive. So if, like, I've got this thing over here, and let's say, God forbid, it's melanoma, skin cancer, well, I'll just put a Band-Aid over it because all the rest of my skin is so beautiful and perfect. I'm not going to focus in on that, but it'll kick your ass. You need to face that, dude. Pull the Band-Aid away and face what might be holding you back. Face right into it, sucker. Do not put it under the carpet, because when you put it in the dark, like mushrooms, it multiplies. But when you put the light on it, as I was talking with a buddy yesterday, when you put the light on it, sometimes, like a vampire, it just evaporates. You realize, oh, well, shit, that's not so bad. I've been repressing that. I've been trying to hold that down and not deal with it and have that strategic or that dynamic tension holding it down. And when I look at it and put it in the light, it's like, yo, that ain't so bad. I could deal with that shizzle. Okay, that's illuminate. Face it, follow it, and fix it. I always ask people, so what is it that you're not facing in your professional developments, in your personal development? I have people take inventory. I'm so crazy. I tell people, if your business had a voice and it could speak to you, what would it tell you you need to work on, that you need to develop? Where if you're a 3 in that area, where do you need to set a goal to become a 6 so you can close that gap? Now, let's look at Fred. So Fred's like, I got so Fred's like, I got this thing. I can teach. I know I got wisdom, but my perception is that their perception is I'm too freaking young. And what's this 25-year-old going to be able to teach it? So face that. Okay. If they believe that, they're not going to listen to you, right? You need to be believed to be heard. So if they write you off and go, I'm not going to learn from this kid. This kid's younger than my youngest. This kid's too young. He don't know shit. What's he going to know in 25 years? Forget about it. And they write you off. Face it. Follow it. Why do they feel that way? I guess they associate me with their kid. Okay, follow it. If people continue to write me off because of my age, I'm going to get skinnier because I ain't going to be able to buy me no food if that's part of my deal. Follow it into the future. Follow it into the past. Why do they feel that way? Well, they're associated with my kid, or they have a belief system that says if you're young, you can't have wisdom. Follow it into the future. What is the fix? It's illuminated even further. How can I address this in such a way to make it go away? Now, if I were mentoring you, we would go through strategies. Some would be using big words. What? Yeah, use big words that they don't know. That humbles them and gives them perspective. When I sold stereos, I didn't know anything about stereos, but someone told me about a hysteresis synchronous motor. So I'd use that term hysteresis synchronous motor for everything. I talk about, well, these speakers, for example, they're much like a hysteresis synchronous motor. And they check off, yo, this guy knows his shizzle. So one is use big words, technical words. Now, the biggest word I know is delicatessen. It's a great word, right? Delicatessen. But that ain't going to impress them. So you got to figure out the words that will answer in their mind, does this kid know his shit? Right? And so you do that. Now, why are you doing that? It's kind of deceptive because you're trying to break the prejudice. They got prejudice, they got ignorance. So you fight fire with fire. So you use these big words, use these big terms, use these concepts. You might even elegantly name drop. What? Name drop. The fact that you did X with Y, and you got to do that elegantly. So you can't go, neener, neener, neener. I did this with that guy and brought his sales up 117%, or I did that with that guy and increased his effectiveness with his employee retention. But you can't neener, neener. Let me give you an example. Here's a name drop credibility statement that I'm going to do elegantly. Watch. You know, years ago, I got a phone call. My assistant said, the secretary's on the phone. I'm like, well, who's secretary? She goes, I don't know. They just said hold for the secretary. So, all right, fine. Hold for the secretary. Oh, look, it was the secretary of the VA, a freaking cabinet member who read one of my books and then wanted to bring me in to train all of the directors of the medical centers and their chiefs of staff. And it was then that I realized that no matter how big you are, you care about productivity and effectiveness. Now, okay, so let's unpack that. I name dropped, right? I name dropped. I dropped the fact, some dude, this book was read by a cabinet secretary, had me come in. So that's the wow, neener, neener. But I took the emphasis off of that and I put it on. And it made me realize that no matter how big you are, productive. So I put the emphasis on that, not on that. But trust me, I know they were looking at that.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
So in addition to using polysyllabic words and concepts, let them know who you are, what you've done in an elegant, non-braggadocious way where you lay it out there, but you put the emphasis on here. And I know they're not listening to me talking about productivity. They're like, holy crap, this dude was brought in by a cabinet. You got it?
I love it. I love it. That's absolutely perfect. It's interesting, especially for someone like myself, and I'm sure for you as well, who are students of life. And it's like every personal development seminar that we attend, we're like, same shit again, right? You know, they're just spouting out the same stuff that you hear at every place you go to.
Don't get me started.
And so for you to completely flip the script and be like, you know what, I'm not going to talk about positivity anymore. I'm going to talk about negativity. And in fact, I'm going to illuminate negativity. It even is a paradigm shift for me going through all the trainings that I've been through, because I always do the same thing. You know, my relationship with my girlfriend, she's always like, oh, you're always so positive. And then after I read your book, I'm like, you know, maybe I should just give a little attention to the negative once in a while, because like you said, it's there. And in many ways, it serves us just in more elusive ways, I feel like, than the positive.
It's a gift, man. The universe, you know, when I wake up in the morning, and people know this about me, even before I go run to the bathroom, because at 68 years old, for some reason, you gotta pee, right? But before I do that, I'm down on my hands and knees, like our Muslim brothers and sisters. And I say 4 things. I say, yes, please, more, thank you. Sometimes I say, thank you, please, more, yes. Sometimes I please, more, yes, thank you. But I always say that. And I'm telling the universe, yes. Yes, I embrace everything that you give me. Please, David, accept it. You know, please, David, accept it. Be aware of it, accept it, and realize you're worthy of it, and you're strong enough to take care of it. Oh, okay. So there's that, right? These setbacks, and people will tell you the rhetoric is always that these setbacks are always opportunities disguised as shit, right? The rhetoric says, you know, these things come never to obstruct, but to always instruct. So when you become, the paranoid is someone who believes the world is conspiring to hurt them, right? An inverse paranoid believes that the world is conspiring to help them, right? So when the stuff comes down, if you learn quickly to go, whoa, yes, there's something here for me. It must be, it's a big pile of poop, but there's got to be a pony in there somewhere for me, right? So when you become that inverse paranoid and you catch yourself, it doesn't always happen because it ain't always so easy. But the distance between when it happens and when you realize, oh, this is an opportunity for me, that's emotional maturity, right? That's emotional maturity. The doctor will put you on a treadmill, right? And they'll put you on a staircase or treadmill. They want to bring all your metrics up as high as they possibly can. And they want to see how long it takes for you to recover to homeostasis. That's called a recovery rate. But what they don't talk about is emotional recovery rate. When the fit hits the shan, how long does it take for you to emotionally come down? And when shit happens, how long does it take for you to realize, whoa, this is an opportunity. This is a growth opportunity, etc. So here's, I just want to, we don't got a lot of time together, but I want to hit you with this. If you make believe your business had a voice, I mentioned this, had a voice, and it says, these are the things you need to learn, know, be, and do. And if you make a wheel, like a wagon wheel, right, with a hub and spokes and an outside there, and if every one of those things that the business tells you you need to do, I don't care if it's as a martial artist. The martial art, you need to be able to stretch. You need to be able to learn your katas. You need to be able to spar. You need whatever. If you're a business person, you need to, and the spokes now, you need to know sales. You need to know marketing. You need communication skills. You need to know how to manage finances. You need to know how to hire, manage, delegate, lead. All of those things are spokes. Now, if you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 is at the hub. That's where you suck. And 10 is out at the other area, and that's mastery. So it's suck and cha-ching, right? So you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. You get naked with yourself. You expose yourself to yourself, and you rate yourself. Now, where you're at 8, 9, or 10, boom, you stretch your arm, you put it in your back and go, wow, that's mastery, baby. I'm doing pretty good. And that's what most people do. They like to accentuate the positive and eliminate the negative. And I go, no, accentuate the positive, yeah, but don't eliminate the negative, illuminate the negative. So if you're a 3, let's illuminate that. You're a 3. Set a goal to be a 6. Close that gap. I call that PGA. It has nothing to do with Tiger Woods. It's performance gap analysis. Work to close the gap. Well, how can I close the gap? Well, maybe a book. Maybe talk to somebody, maybe a podcast, whatever. Close the gap. And when you close the gap, you know what happens? You invoke a law of nature, just like, the law of gravity, gravity is an immutable law. It doesn't. The law of control. The law of control says we feel good about ourselves, and our self-esteem is tied into our controlling our destiny in our life. So when you close that gap and you become a 6, you invoke the law of control, and it feels good, and your confidence goes up, and then your competence goes up, which then helps your confidence go up, which brings and you're doing the eensy beensy spider up to bliss, right? As opposed to going down that, that, what do they call, the rabbit's hole and stuff like that. And so close the gap, kick ass. That's a form of illumination. And you illuminate, face it, follow it, and fix it, close the gaps, make yourself a more valuable, you name it. Do that with your relationship. What's it going to take? If the relationship had a voice, which it does, because you could talk to your girlfriend, right? If your relationship had a voice, just surmise what are the components on that relationship? Staying awake and aware to her wants and needs and desires, the concept of safety, the concept of support. What is that like? And the communication skills, understanding and learning her language of love. And you rate yourself on it and close the gap. And when you close the gap, you open the hug. Because I got to tell you, man, my goddess, my beloved, my wife, is so much to me, as are my children and my grandchildren, you know. But
Yeah.
having a rich relationship is a function of staying awake and illuminating every aspect of it. Now, in my book, Illuminate, I actually have a situation because it's a story. It's not only a guy about his business, but it's in his relationship that he needed to illuminate, right? And then in my book, Preventing Brand Slaughter, where you learn you are either in harmony and in integrity with your brand and your values,
There it is.
or you're out of integrity. You're either in brand integrity or committing brand slaughter. And now in my latest book, which is almost done, Involuntary Brand Slaughter, that's when you're committing brand slaughter with stuff that happens at you. And it's a story about this virus called COVID that comes into hospitals and riots and stuff. And that's when you're killing your brand. And it wasn't even by your doing, it was by stuff that's happening at you. That's involuntary brand slaughter. But all of these things are about staying awake, living a big life, staying awake, being in touch. You can't give away what you don't have. Self-love, identify the gaps, close the gaps, increase the self-love, identify the patterns in your life. Identify them and know that you are not those patterns. You've just been under the influence. Wake up, get rid of those patterns and move on and live a big ass life, because life is freaking awesome.
Yes. It's funny that you talk about bridging that gap or closing the gap. So you'll love this. So I'm right now in the process of finishing my book, Make Money and Have Fun. And the subtitle to that book is Bridge the Gap Between Your Passion and Your Prosperity. And it's so cool because every person that I brought on here has a make money and have fun mindset. They just use different words to describe it. And you're talking about the same exact thing. I like using the words fully aligned, becoming fully aligned with who you are. We go to the chiropractor to align our body. But oftentimes we're not aligned in our business, in our career, in our relationships, in our soul, with just our soul purpose and the thing that we want. And you mentioned this, and I say this a lot. My first book that I ever wrote at 21 years old, I put a quote in there. And the quote is, everybody on this planet is ceaselessly in search of one thing and one thing only, a feeling. And when you're fully aligned, you feel it. There's nothing else there that lets you know except for that one feeling. On that note, David, let's kind of wrap it up here. We're getting close on time. What do you want to leave our audience with today? What do you want to say? Advice, words of wisdom, or just anything at all that you want to leave them with today?
Well, I think introspection is key. We're so busy doing it. We often don't stop and be alone. And one of my girlfriends years ago said to me in her beautiful French accent, she said, David, why are you never alone? What are you afraid of? I went, a New Yorker, man. I'm not afraid. And I'm alone a lot, man. I'm sitting outside in my man cave. I got a chimney out there. I got 2 TVs. I got a thing. I'm out there smoking a cigar. And then I realized, well, that's not being alone. That's 2 TVs going on, one with the news and one with sports. And being alone, which is that time to just go deep. I call it meditration. In meditation, you're supposed to take those ideas and let them flow away like clouds. And I go, no, sit down with a pen and paper, with an idea or a thought or an intention, and go into a meditative state, but allow yourself to concentrate, and without opening your eyes, write down your thoughts. Write down your thoughts. That's meditation. I should trademark that. That's meditation. It's concentrated meditation. Okay. And write that. So introspection is key. It all starts there. I think when Shakespeare said, to thine own self be true, and it shall follow as the night, the day, thou canst not be false to any others. Be true to yourself. Go inside and ask yourself, who am I? What's working for me? Do the illuminate model. What might be holding me back? What patterns do I see? So I would say that's key, man, is take that time. You can meditate, that's cool, but concentrated meditate is go inside and have a conversation with yourself and get to know yourself and get to know, even though you're a dirtbag in some areas, you are perfect. You're perfectly imperfect and you're perfect. And so accept, know, and love yourself. Then, only then can you give love to others. You can't give away what you don't have. So learn, grow, close the gaps, illuminate, live a big life. Yeah, let me know.
I love it. David, thank you so much for being here, man. This has been awesome. Did you have a good time?
I always have a good time when I know that I'm sharing stuff. I'm working on 2 companies, 2 inventions. I'm not even that smart, but these inventions come through me.
Yeah.
And as they come through me, they come to you. So I love sharing ideas that have helped me help others, and I know can help you.
I love it, man. This has been amazing. I definitely got so much from this. I know our audience has as well. I'm going to blast you out everywhere. We're going to be all over podcasts, TV. We might even be famous by the end of this, so who knows?
Yeah, who knows? I might not be a nobody no more.
I love it. David, thank you so much for being here.
All
Everybody
right.
who's watching, we'll see you again very, very soon. Have a good one, guys.